Naimbag nga daw, Erwan, I heard you're up for a challenge and I would like you to create a favorite dish of mine, ILOCOS Empanada. Growing up as a kid, my dad used to bring these classic dishes as a pasalubong whenever he goes back to the province, and I'm really excited to taste how well are you going to recreate this dish.
I absolutely love ILOCOS empanadas. They're very different from any different type of empanadas you might have tried in your life. If you ever do find yourself in that region of the northern Philippines, you'll see these beautiful kind of like orange looking large pastries, and those are the ones that we're talking about today. They're gorgeous and delicious, and they are a variation of your South American or your Spanish empanadas that are usually made with wheat flour. But obviously when the recipe came about locally, they decided to use rice flour and whatever ingredients were available locally. So the dough is made using rice flour, and then it's given a really awesome orange hue by the way of annatto oil. It's then stuffed with a variety of ingredients, the most traditional ones being some nice spicy garlicky longganisa, an egg, some shredded green papaya. I've seen some people put some carrots in there as well, I guess, but for me, that is the most traditional way to do it. So today I'm gonna show you how to do it. It's really simple as long as you follow the steps. The most complicated thing to do is the dough. One of the hardest things is to get the right consistency, and this can only be done by feel. Different rice flours have different absorption rates when it comes to water, so you'll have to try this a couple of times until you get it right. I stumbled upon this video on the internet where I saw the dough being made on heat, and I thought that was a really interesting idea rather than just mixing all the ingredients cold. So what I did was boil the oil and the water and the salt together. I then took it off the fire, and that's when we added our rice flour and started kneading the dough until everything became really smooth and nice for about 15 minutes while giving it some air and cooling it down. So once we've kneaded it for about 15 minutes, all we have to do is set it aside and cover it for about 20 minutes. While this is happening, we're just gonna grate some green papaya and fry off our longanisa. I just took the filling from some beautiful ILOCOS longanisa that were already so garlicky and spicy that I didn't necessarily need to add more garlic or onions or things like that to my frying pan. Just the longanisa filling enough was perfect. So now comes the tricky part. One of the hardest things that I had to do was the actual rolling out of the dough. This is a rice flour dough, so it's very different from a wheat flour. And while rolling it, the issue was it was getting too thin. I'd wrap the filling, it would then break, so I had to do that a couple times to make sure I was getting the right thickness. I fell onto something at about 2.5 to 3 millimeters. I know that sounds really exact, but it's exactly where I needed it to be so that I could actually put all the filling inside, making sure not to overfill it, and then covering the sides. You'll want to start it off with a dough ball that's slightly larger than a golf ball, and then place it between 2 sheets of wax paper. Press it down and actually weigh it down with a flat board so that you have a nice flat starting disc. The whole thing is then closed. You gently put it into some oil. I tried to get my oil up to about 180 centigrade, and then it fried off for about 10 minutes until it got perfectly crispy, and you're left with this delicious bite that is just gorgeous when paired with a nice spicy vinegar like the way they do it in ILOCOS. So the result that you get is nice and full. I've eaten it a couple of times already. Can you see I took a couple of bites? You hear that? Crunchy. Not too oily, just full enough, and then you got that spiced garlicky flavor from all the longanisa that's in there, the nice silky texture of the egg, and then the little bite and kind of filling that the papaya adds. Beautiful, and it's everything that you look for in an ILOCOS empanada. These things are addicting.